Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you would, could we show the the OPM survey and the CSB worker satisfaction slide? Thank you. Chairman Mori-Arasso, if you look at these statistics on employee satisfaction, they indicate an agency in turmoil. In particular, it would appear from this that the satisfaction with your senior leadership, which in this case would seem to be yourself as chairman, your top staff, such as Mr. Lowe and Mr. Horowitz. Why do you think these numbers are so low?
You know, we run an agency, as was explained before, that has very little resources, that does have, I agree, leadership problems. I mean, we have a board that is functioned without any agreement, and that is in constant conflict. All that creates a situation that I believe the people in the staff feel that the leadership of the agency is not to the liking.
Let me ask Mr. Griffin and the rest of the board, but particularly Mr. Griffin, as long as you've worked with the chairman, you might have some more detailed thoughts on this. Can you give us some insights into why you think these numbers are so low?
Well, I think the numbers, I think part of it is that the board, we've had a series of maneuvers and operations and ways to get around orderly board orders. Board orders are governance. And I think if the board can make a commitment to say that we will all follow the board orders, then a lot of the conflict on the board would go away. That certainly contributes to it, but I also think it goes deeper than that. It's the ways in which staff are fear of retaliation. There's a real fear of retaliation. There's not an openness for dissenting opinions to be shared. So it's much deeper than that. But this has gone on for quite some time. I guess my biggest disappointment is even after the hearing in June, I urged everyone to reflect and let's try to reform. And I think instead we continue to deflect and defend. It's lack of resources, lack of staff. It's never management problems. And I think the evidence is there. It's very clear. We have to accept them and try to actually reform the place.
Yes, sir.
I can't speak to the data that was gathered some time ago. What I can speak to is the issue of how data was handled in the Vantage study. In my past,
We've already covered that, I think, earlier in the hearing.
But I wasn't at. You asked me what I thought was going on, and I'd like to tell you, sir.
Go ahead.
I have talked to almost everybody in the agency. I have a background in organizational diagnosis as well as chemistry. I think there are some issues, yes, but I know for a fact, and the emails are forthcoming to the Inspector General, that a person inside, two people inside of the agency told the contractor, by the way, the contractor who lied to us, that nobody had ever seen this report up until the day it was presented. We have data which will be submitted to you that says, in fact, that two people inside of the agency were told the contractor to change the data so that it was, in fact, not very positive.
That's noted. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Griffin, would you please briefly explain Board Order 28? In January 28th, there was a motion which rescinded Board Order 28, which established significant checks on the chairman. Would you explain that?
Yeah, Board Order 28 came about after some earlier arguments in the life of the board, of governance on the board, and it delineated the authorities of the chairman versus the board as a whole. And it allowed for several checks and balances, including voting on budget allocation of funds, as well as the appointment of heads of administrative units, as well as large expenditures. And I think some of these I referenced in my opening statement, that some of these principles were outlined by Senator Lautenberg when this initial dispute was going on. He thought that those checks and balances were very important. And I should also point out that during a period of time under Carolyn Merritt, it seems that these board orders, perhaps there were arguments here and there about them, but overall, they operated under those board orders, and they were pretty productive. And I think that was working. And if you want to amend these, they should be done by the full board, not in the dark of night.
Do you believe that Chairman Mario Rosso adhered to these, to Board Order 28?
No, I think even when we were supposedly operating under Board Order 28, Chairman Rosso appointed a person to an administrative unit head, which I objected to in violation of that board order. It should have been a board vote for that position, and he proceeded with the appointment unilaterally.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to enter Board Order 28 into the record.
Without objection, so ordered.
My time has expired. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, the witnesses.
I think